Well, good evening everyone. Rod Cullerton, and sorry for the late live I should say. Well, like always, I wanted to keep everyone informed, and I'm actually currently sitting here preparing for the Kalgoorlie matter tomorrow. Now, the Kalgoorlie matter is an alleged offence while we're politically campaigning for the so-called election. As I was coming back to the western side of Australia, I was stopped by the WA police at an alleged border, and they decided to prosecute myself and others, and here we are. We're about to go to trial. What I have been doing is genuine steps. The question of jurisdiction: how may there be a border when we're one self-governing colony and our borders are well out to sea? How could I be stopped from returning home to my place of residence? I wasn't diagnosed with any infectious disease. I'm not a risk to the community, well, certainly not yet, and I was not carrying an infectious disease. So, and I'm not a criminal. Well, could be after today. But anyway, we have to be the dog in the fight, and I want to take the Australian people with me and show you now what has happened. What essentially has happened: a whole heap of people came through that day. It was very safe. They weren't carrying they weren't diagnosed with an infectious disease. We weren't putting the community at risk, and we were travelling on Commonwealth jurisdiction, which is air highway. So what has happened now is we've held the jurisdiction of the court to account, and the authority of the so-called authorised persons who claim to have an authority under the Management Act 2005 to actually hit us up for an offence or alleged offence. And that's the first one was to failing to comply with a lawful order. Well, we certainly we held the WA police to account, and they dropped the lawful order. Now the new prosecution notice is about failure to follow a direction from a police officer. Okay, so Kalgoorlie Court starts at 10 o'clock tomorrow. I will be there conditionally. I've filed a conditional appearance. I'm appearing as Rodney Norman Cullerton, as a private individual, a Vita individual. I'm certainly not appearing as what the name is on the prosecution notice, which has got me in all caps. So this is to deal with me under commerce. So if they go ahead with that, well, then I'll be appearing as the beneficiary to sort matters out for Rodney Norman Cullerton, which is the corporation that they have to do like for like. So let me just show you what we've done to date, and how it all changes, and why you've got to hold these so-called persons to account. And I'll try and bring the file in front of the computer because it is late at night. Okay, so there you have it. So just bear with me. So here's the first one, right? I've got to put it up close to the phone. Prosecution notice, righto, Rodney Norman Cullerton, and the prosecutor is the WA police. Okay, so what we did is we wrote to them and said, well, the WA police can't turn over the Magistrates Court Act because it is a corporation, has to be an authorised officer. And if you notice here, the first prosecution notice, see there, is not witnessed. He hasn't signed it, and yeah, so it's incurable and deficient. So then we go along and we make an application to bring in Mark McGowan and Andy Robinson, because they're absolute pivotal to our defence, both in their private capacity and as a corporation. And as my previous lives have said, they refused, well, a non-legal qualified law clerk refused it. I'm not sure where that goes, but so here we go again. We held the WA police. We said they can't prosecute. So now we've got a new application by them. It's called Police versus Rodney Cullerton. Well, they've taken Norman out of it. So again, it's not, it's the new application that's now coming forward. Okay, so what we have got now, and this will be all held at the courtroom tomorrow, but what I'm going to do, sorry, I'll just bring you back to me, and I'll bring you back to the so what we've been able to do is actually, if I can bring this in, just show you here. Okay, so there it is. So there we go. So we're back to Rodney Norman Culleton again. Well, that's not my name, see? So that's a corporation. So there's the written law. But we go down, oh, sorry. Right, so what we've now been able to do by holding them to account is to, so we've got apparently, well, say on the 5th, so only a few days out, I think the 5th was Friday, maybe not, it was last Wednesday, whatever it was. Well, we didn't appear. Simply what happened is they wanted to amend the prosecution notice, see there? So here they go by order of the judicial officer, well they don't say who it is, alleged offence charged from failed to comply with the direction given under section 67, 70 and 72 capital A of the Emergency Management Act 2005. Okay, so here it is, they're now changing it, they're dropping 70 and 72A because we put in affidavits which showed the police and that had their powers revoked the very next morning when we're at the political limitation. They're saying that they failed to comply with the direction given under section 67 of the Emergency Management Act. Well, that says, they've now said that the, here we are, back again. They've now said that the WA police have powers shut down any road. We weren't on a road. So that's all they're left with. This is costing the WA taxpayers a lot of money. And it's costing, to be honest, it's costing me a lot of money. I've got to travel 3.5 hours to Kalgoorlie tomorrow. We've got to step into the court. They haven't heard our interlocutory application, that's proving jurisdiction, because look, it is really, really important, and this is, I can't say this enough. Your federal senators, 12 elected out of every state and 2 territory around Australia, go to the administration office in Canberra. There is to make sure that the laws of the states and territory are full compliant with the laws of the Commonwealth. They're not, and there's nothing they do about it. And this is simply what's happening. We've now got a judicial officer that's giving free kicks at the outside the front of the goal square to WA police, allowing them to mend all their process. So we're trying to establish a defence here. They just our witnesses. They go and now amend all their prosecution notices. Their prosecution notices aren't signed or witnessed. They've now, well, this is the best one. They've now, you'll like this one. They're now in the taking the prosecutor to this name. Where is it? There you go. So let me just show you this. I mean, this is why I've got to keep showing people. So now, there you go. There's the prosecutor. It's now the West Australian Police Force. Western Australian, all in all caps. West Australian Police Force doesn't exist in, it can't turn over the Criminal Procedure Act of 2004. So again, there you go. It's not witnessed, or there's no justice of the peace, and the judicial sergeant official title is Sergeant Constable. I mean, that's not him. Who's Sergeant Constable who, you know? And here we go. And he's saying the prosecution signed on the 15th of March 2022. Well, I don't see any signature there. And certainly I never put in a plea of not guilty. Apparently the magistrate, as the administrator of the Rodney Norman Culleton Trust, decided to do that. But again, I stress this is not my name. That is not how I spell my name, and that is certainly corporation. That is not me, and I will not consent to a jurisdiction that is not Crown compliant. And what I have been asking in other matters is simply that it's as simple as this. You walk into the court's head of power has to come from our Constitution. I mean, that's what creates the head of power, and we're still a United Kingdom Act. Turn around and we say to the magistrate, Constitution, valid law in this courtroom today. And a lot of the times the magistrates just won't answer it. Important, because what head of power are they operating on? I'm turning up as many private people throughout the Commonwealth to be dealt with under law. That is my commitment as a law-abiding private individual. When a magistrate can't say what jurisdiction that they're in, which certainly criminal has to be in Crown, and the Crown has to be clause 2 and 5 of our Constitution, and the Magistrates Court is supposed to be a court of statute, then if they're not operating under the Commonwealth Constitution, then how may it be the state of Western Australia? Because the state of Western Australia only exists if it's under the Commonwealth Constitution. I mean, Blind Freddie can tell you that. So then you have to ask, well, what head of power do they rely on? And we all know this, it's Commerce, and we're all there to pick up the tab for this other jurisdiction that they're playing. Well, I won't be doing that, and I'll certainly be holding round tomorrow. I understand that they've switched the umpire, the prior so-called magistrate who's been put on notice. Does he have a commercial interest in it? You know, in the case, I mean, we just say it's just a multi-nova for the revenue for the state. What commercial interest does this new so-called fellow have? And we hope he can keep up with the game, because we're going to come and we're going to be going for the ball pretty hard tomorrow, because this is important. This has affected a lot of people travelling through the self-governing colony. When our passport says we can travel freely over Commonwealth, which is where we didn't get off on the Commonwealth jurisdiction, and also where the alleged so-called border that they say, that's the border sign line, it's not the meridian line. So when the WA police made an unsolicited approach on myself and others, well, they were still in the southern side of Australia. So it's going to be quite interesting. Big pile of evidence. I notice there's a lot of word art in the evidence, and I'll be taking it to the end. This is, we'll see how we go. So far so good. We've switched about 4 prosecutors. We don't know who's going to be, well, we know it's the West Australian Police Force now. Now they've employed a lawyer. They've apparently engaged a lawyer. So we need to find out whether the magistrate tomorrow is sitting coram judici, which means is he sitting within jurisdiction under the head of power as described in clause 2 and 5 of the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act 1900. So he'll be held to account. So look, this is important. I'm trying to show people that, which I didn't know before I became a federal senator. I'm just trying to bring you forward. This affects people's lives. It affects, you know, it's not cheap going to court. And we need to make sure that, and remind ourselves that we are the head of power. So when, you know, nothing exists if we don't go to the polls. So we need to make sure that we're actually putting those individuals that try to say that they represent us, they are going into Commerce, but we have to take the lead and certainly bring our country back under our law that our forefathers granted us. As simple as that. So we need to become private. Private is being yourself. Private is being in control of one's self's business, and we don't want to be tricked and basically put into this commerce where they just deal with us like cattle. That is what we have to stop, and that's certainly the presumption and the evidence that's out there facing a lot of people, and it does. It knocks them around, so we need to take the bull by the horns, I guess, and let's get this country back where it needs to be, back in the private, back under the UK Act, and let's get out of this de facto republic. Well, good morning everyone in Western Australia, and certainly good afternoon everyone in the East Coast. I just wanted to come and do a live. I'm also filming all my lives now, as you can see right here at our office. We are doing this because a lot of material is being edited or censored. So I wanted to give an update on a very important trial which was purportedly commenced by, well, we're not who it was commenced by. It was either commenced by the West Australian Police, the West Australian Police Force, or just straight police. We're not sure, and that was certainly spelled out. But as always, the media were present, the ABC, and I just want to clarify and make a very solid point that at no stage did we ever accuse the magistrate of being drunk. That is a statement. We would never make such a statement. It was a concern of the co-accused, which was Rosalind Stewart, who is a clinical nurse, and as we were testing jurisdiction, it appeared at some stage the magistrate was not focused, and in some cases was doing certain facial expressions like "I do not understand," and she raised a concern that, being early on a Monday morning, that he may have not been sober, and that, which is fair enough. You go on a mine site, you've got to take a urine test, and like always, these particular people have a duty of obedience, and they're dealing with our rights as Australian nationals. They're dealing with our rights, and we need to make sure that we are dealt with correctly. But I'll just take you through what happened so that you've got an understanding. You can actually Google this, just put my name in. Don't like it when they say I'm 58, certainly 59 this year. Looking at it like it in the photo too, I might say. They go on and say, well, it's a serious charge. It's a charge that carries a potential sentence of up to 12 months in jail or a fine up to 50 grand. They go on and say that we repeatedly refused, this is myself and the co-accused, had repeatedly refused to identify themselves when asked if they were the people named on the charge sheet. Well, that's correct, because we need to make sure that the right entity and the jurisdiction, which is the first duty of all courts, is adhered to. So then it says, Mr. Culleton unsuccessfully attempted to make constitutional arguments, claiming the air highway was a Commonwealth jurisdiction. But the magistrate responded repeatedly he did not understand Mr. Culleton's comments or arguments. Well, certainly I didn't put on an argument. I was there to listen conditionally, with caution, to allow whoever the prosecutor was to go ahead and present his case. So I wasn't going to argument. I'm at this stage have no case to answer, and I'll tell you why. So that is a false statement by the media. I did not go to an argument. And then it says, the magistrate quotes, "I have no idea what you're talking about," Magistrate Taverner said. Then I say, jurisdiction goes to the heart of the matter and whether WA Police have prosecutorial powers to go forward, Mr. Culleton added. Well, that's just dealing with jurisdiction. That's and standing of the so-called person that is along to my right at the bar table. It then went on, you should have a read of the article, but then it went on to say Mr. Culleton that he had not entered a plea despite appearing at numerous pre-trials hearing last year. Well, that's correct. I won't enter a plea until jurisdiction and how I'm being dealt with. I claimed I was a Commonwealth officer. which I am. I have not revoked my oath of appointment under the Constitution. And the magistrate came back to me and said, "You're not a Commonwealth officer, you're a private citizen." Well, that's incorrect. That's an oxymoron for a start. So anyway, that said, I'll come back to you. Actually, I'll come back to me. So you can have a look at that. Go on to Rod Cullerton. The report, as always, I've got my Anzacs in the background here, as you know, and look. So overall, it went very, very well. Okay, and I'm not just saying that, and I'm going to show you parts of it. I'm actually going to show you what was tabled as evidence, and I want you to listen very carefully. But before I do, I want to take you to this to make it very clear to the people, because I'm doing these lives. I'll tell you why I'm doing these lives, and I've actually said it in part of my defence. We're supposed to be a democratic society, and I'm holding these so-called people that hold an alleged power to deal with us, not just in the courts. I mean, Section 44 of the Constitution I triggered in the federal parliament when I was there. I could have sacked the whole parliament. And essentially, it doesn't have to be a politician, a magistrate, a judge, anyone that holds a office of power, subject to 44 of the Constitution. You can't usurp the powers, and you have to act in the best interest of everyone. But let me just take you to this, because this is important. This is Butterworth's. Ready? So here we go. What a constable must do. A constable cannot be directed by the government or a senior police as to who or he should prosecute. There you go. This is the kicker. A constable's duty to enforce the law, so he has to enforce the law. So if a sergeant or a constable or police officer, whoever that holds the office, because he takes an oath of office under the Crown, well, he's supposed to, but they're not. The law is a personal responsibility, and the constable is answerable only to the law, not to his or her senior officers for performance. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a bit of a Christmas present I got, just to let you know that, just for authenticity, I'm just going to play it out as it was. And here we go. As you can see, I was the prosecutor in the matter, and so I'll take you to, and that is that you need to listen to this. Okay, I'm going to take my little microphone off here, and you're going to listen to, and I want you to pay attention on the sergeant of who he says he takes his orders from. And here we go. So this is, you can't get better than this. This is like being front stage at a Wiggles concert. Just hang on a minute. And I'll turn this around. Here we go.
How you going, fellas? What can I do for you all?
Yeah. So this is the body-worn camera of the officers who approached Air Highway, Commonwealth jurisdiction, and as you can see there, the quarantine, actually I'll come back a bit, the quarantine checkpoint. So just bear with me as always. It's I'm trying to be a busker in the street with this, but doing
I just want everyone, now look.
Is he the spokesman, is he?
I am indeed.
Sorry, who are you?
Rob? Oh, what have I done?
His palm?
It's alright, mate. Okay.
Sorry, what was your name?
Rod. Right, I'm politically coming back. We've all been over to Canberra.
Yes.
And
So that was the Freedom Rally and doing our political campaign.
And these people have been here for some days, not permitted to go into the western side of this country. So what we're trying to establish, and I am recording, for what reasons are these people, and including myself, not permitted to return home to our place of residence, when in fact we're one self-governing colony and there is no border because the Boundaries Act, Clause 8 of our Constitution, removed that. But if you've got an instrument that's recreated a border, are you able to provide that? Because it's our understanding.
Okay, so what I asked him there, because I had mentioned the Constitution and Federation, we become a one self-governing colony, and the borders were abolished through Clause 8, the Borders Boundary Act, or whatever it is. I just haven't got it in front of me, but Clause 8, you can go to your Constitution of the Commonwealth, and clearly says no longer exist internally. They go 12 mile out to sea. We're a one self-governing colony. And so I asked the officer to provide the instrument that overrode Clause 8 and the Acts of Federation, which he couldn't provide, but listen to his reasons.
Emergency Management Act,
Yes.
and under that it's been...
Okay, so what he's gone straight to is the State Act. I'll come back a bit. He claims that the Emergency Management Act of 2005 gives him the power to do what needs to be done at an alleged border.
It's our
Well,
understanding.
I work under the Emergency Management Act,
Yes.
and under that it's been declared an emergency in Western Australia, so you have to have a valid G2G pass, and now you have to be double vaccinated with a booster to get...
Now, G2G passes, they claim to be good to go, but it's actually government to government. It stands for government to government.
in.
Yeah, but...
Okay, so that's what we work on.
Yes, but...
if you want to have a political argument...
No,
you need
I'm
to
not
take that-
political. I'm
you
not
need
here to
to
argue,
you need to
sir.
take that.
I'm not
So
here to
that's-
argue.
So like most of these people have got jobs. I've got a job. He's got a job. We're doing our job.
Yes, but you don't have to have a medical procedure to travel. I understand that may be a requirement.
Okay,
in
well that's the
certain
rules
workplaces.
we work under.
Okay, if you hear what he said, that is the rules he works under. We're not interested in rules, we're interested in the law.
Yes,
Okay,
but
for the
I
border.
don't want rules. I want the law, and the law
Okay,
says...
the law is the Emergency Management Act 2005 WA has been enacted, and the emergency manager, Mr. Dawson, has taken a state of emergency, and this is what you need to enter Western Australia. Because
Okay,
it's told
now
you.
when did...
Now, what I can categorically confirm whilst in Parliament is any act passed after 1986 passed under the failed the democratic process of the true Queen. The West Australian Parliament does not conduct its business under the correct sovereignty. There is a corporate sovereignty known to be called Queen of Australia.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. Your Excellency, I present the Honourable Scott Morrison to be sworn into the office of Prime Minister.
Mr Morrison, I invite you to take and subscribe the oath of office as Prime Minister of Australia.
I, Scott John Morrison, do swear that I will well and truly serve the people of Australia in the office of Prime Minister, and that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, Queen of Australia, so Queen of Australia.
I think that came in.
Okay, now, is that a Crown Act? Is that an act
As
that's
to which,
lawfully...
Okay, he's asked, is it a Crown Act? It's his duty as a constable. He must go and check it out that the act that he claims to be relying on has received royal assent as per our true Queen of the United Kingdom. Otherwise, Queen of Australia could be Queen of someone's stubby shorts out here. I mean, Queen of the stubby shorts. That is not recognised anywhere in our law prior to 1986, the state, and certainly prior to 1973 in the Commonwealth. Queen of Australia is a nonsense, and King of Australia is battling because there's no Statute Act, Rules, Styles and Title Act, I'm getting a bit confused, that the government can rely on to create the entity known as King of Australia. We have a problem, and that's why we're coming home strong on this one.
Australian Act.
Okay, now...
Okay, so you can talk all day. I'm not going to change my stance.
Right.
So if you're not vaccinated and you don't have a GDG...
we don't have to declare whether we are, whether we're not.
Then you don't get entry to Western Australia.
For
Sorry if
what
you live
reason?
here,
For what
but that's because this is my job. This is what I've been told to do by my employer.
Hello. This is my job and this is what I've been told to do by my employer. Well, that's a nonsense. We'll hear that again.
I'm told to do by my employer, and that's what's happening.
Who's your employer, sir?
Western
Are you
Australia.
a police officer?
Yes, I am.
Not a police employer. Not a police...
Well, the government employs the police, so we work with...
You're not a police worker?
Right, you can call me whatever you like.
No, I'm asking you,
I'm a police officer.
because I'm a Commonwealth Public Officer. I'm a former federal senator.
Former.
Are you a police worker or a police officer?
I'm a police officer. So
Okay.
if I answered all your
can I
questions,
ask-
tell you can ask what you like, but I've finished telling you what you need to get across the border. So we've got work to do.
Can I just...
So,
can I get
okay.
Hang on.
So the political stunts...
No, it's no political stunt,
Well-
sir. Please do not say that.
Well,
We have a High Court case here that says...
okay, if the High Court tells me something different and the Commissioner tells me something different, then I'll do something different.
But
There you go. If the High Court tells me something different or the Commissioner tells me something different, he will then act. That is not his role as a constable. He has to conduct his affairs under the powers of his office. He must, or he or she that holds such office, must and shall make sure that the laws are upheld and any act that they rely on has been made pursuant to clause 2 and 5 and certainly overcome in Western Australia section 2.3, go on to the West Australia Constitution Act of 1889, 2.3. If it doesn't receive royal assent in the name of the United Kingdom Queen, it's invalid. So how may the Emergency Management Act of 2005, enacted under Queen of Australia, which is in contravention to the Interpretation Act of 1984, how can they claim that as valid law under the Crown?
This comes from the
Hang on,
Commissioner
sir.
of Police, sorry.
can I just show you our passport? It says we can travel unfettered throughout the Commonwealth. Okay, that is our right.
Sorry mate, you're fighting a losing battle here.
Okay, so he's not prepared to look at the passport, an undertaking by the Governor-General to say we can travel through unfettered, unhindered throughout this great nation called the Commonwealth of Australia.
I do what my Commissioner tells me to do.
I'm doing what my Commissioner tells me what to do. So what he's saying there is, I'll just come back, he's overriding the contract between myself or all Australian nationals and the Governor-General, and he's saying, well, we don't care, the Commissioner overrides that.
Mate, you're fighting a losing battle here. I do what my Commissioner tells me to do.
Well, can I get him on the phone?
Yes,
I need
you
to
can ring
speak
him.
Can you ask him now? Because I
No.
need to see.
Oh, sorry,
about
I don't
you.
have a direct line to him. So
Yes,
you
but-
obviously being an ex-politician should know how to do that.
Well, that's why I'm here with the
Okay.
law. I'm here
Okay.
out of respect with the law.
So-
We're on Commonwealth jurisdiction. We want to return home. We have.
And
the
I've
right
told
to
you
go
what you
our
need
honest-
to come through this border here.
So can
I've told you what I
order
need.
out to me, sir.
The border is just there. It says stop.
Okay, now they've just declared that the border is at the stop sign in the quarantine centre. Let's hear it again.
The border is just there. It says stop.
Where is it? Can
Where
you
it says
show
stop.
me? Sorry?
Where it says stop.
Okay, so you're telling me that you have an instrument that's recreated a border over what Federation granted for us. Is that correct?
But I have no idea what Federation granted. I go with the law.
Well, there you go. He's got no idea of federation. I mean, come on.
I know and what I've been told.
I'm relying on the law that he knows.
Okay, fair enough.
Hang on. No,
Okay,
sir,
thank you very
please.
much.
No, this is our... No, don't walk
Thank you
away,
very-
because then you're walking away from our engagement, and that means it's to be taken.
no.
You can't stop us.
I'm walking away from an argument that
No, I'm
you're
not
having
arguing.
with me.
I'm arguing. And
I'm
look,
telling you
can
what
I just
you
read
need.
this out to you? Clause 8, right, of the Constitution says, after passing of this Act, which is our Constitution, the Colonial Boundaries Act 1895 shall not apply to any colony. And then we go to 123.
Okay.
This is what I have to uphold as a former federal senator, sir.
Okay.
123
Very good.
states, hang on,
Okay. As I said, I'm not here. Sorry, I'm not here to argue the law with you. I can
No,
tell
but it's
you
political
what we do.
limitation, see,
Okay.
alteration of limits of states.
Well, you need to take that to the High Court if you
So
wish.
what we'd like to do
Okay.
is we'd like to return home. We're going to stay
I'm
on
sorry.
Commonwealth jurisdiction. I'm happy to ring the federal police,
Okay.
but I will be bringing my coach because otherwise, sir,
Okay, sir.
you're interfering with my political rights.
Okay, well, I'll tell you exactly what I'll do.
What
I
will you
will
do?
refuse you entry. If you
For what
choose to enter,
reason?
you may be arrested and charged.
I know, but for
Okay?
why would you
Because you're
refuse
breaching
me
the Emergency
entry?
Management Act
But why would you
2005.
refuse me entry to the West?
Because
We're
you-
one
because you are
self-governing
breaching-
colony. Sorry?
So, see, this is what I mean. You're going in circles. I've told you what I'm going to do.
But
You told me what you're going to do.
Would you arrest?
That's it. Under the Emergency Management Act, I'll
No,
arrest you.
but can you go and get the order that states that my name's on that order, or any biosecurity order that says my name's on there? And
It's an act. It doesn't have your name on it.
Well, then
as-
how may that order
okay.
apply to me, sir?
So I think we're done here. You know what you need. You all know what you need. Okay,
No,
you've had your talk.
No, we're not contracting with
No.
the WA Police. I have another
So-
case, the WA
Okay.
Police. Have you got the
Okay, well,
controlling
thank
officer
you
of
for your
the
time.
WA Police? Sorry?
Thank you very much for your time. I'll explain what you need to do to cross the border. If you choose not to do
so
that,
you-
that is your choice.
So
Okay.
are you, okay,
Consequence, you'll have a
be very
consequence.
Clear, be very clear, guys.
Yep.
Is that a border?
Yes, it is. It's WA border, South Australian WA border.
It is definitely.
That's what I call it. So
He said that's what I call it. Now he's made a statement. Yes, that is a border.
okay.
Border, sir.
Thank you. That's where WA starts.
Sorry?
WA roads end there. Start there.
So you agree it's a political limitation?
No, I don't agree with anything you're saying.
Well, look, we'll stay on Commonwealth jurisdiction.
You can-
We'll ring the federal police
Very well.
because you don't have jurisdiction
Okay.
to come up on Commonwealth. You understand this is a Commonwealth highway?
You ring the federal police if you wish. I'm not stopping you to do anything. Your
You
actions.
are. You're stopping me from going and these people from going home.
I'm stopping you from going over there. I'm not stopping you doing anything
Okay,
here.
so you
Okay.
don't.
So right now we're in South Australia.
No, I need. So what?
Okay, so we're in South Australia. He agrees. Now it was led in their evidence that the West Australian Police does not have cross-border powers when it comes to this sort of alleged offence. There may be certain officers that may have cross-border powers when dealing with serious criminals on the run. That is a different, but certainly they weren't given the act that they relied on, the Emergency Management Act 2005, only empowers them, purportedly or otherwise, in the state of Western Australia. Okay, so at this point we were in the southern side of Australia. We sort of weren't really entering the western side of Australia because we can't call it the state of Western Australia, which now they've dropped the word state out of their summons, or out of their particulars, saying that they said entering Western Australia. Because we held them to account, how may it be a state if the state is not running under the federal constitution? Because, as you know, they only ever became states at federation. But, you know, I'm just a farmer, gone politician, and I'm not sure what the rest of these guys are doing, but they certainly have. The law is clear, saying that members of Parliament are usurping powers that are not lawfully binding upon us. Okay, there is no question about that. So I'll keep on playing.
Do you ring
No, you
Parliament?
just. No.
No, you need to do that
No.
because you're making a claim that we can't go home.
Sorry, no.
Well, we'll be going home, sir.
Okay, and your actions have consequences. Have you accept those consequences? That's
No,
fine.
no.
Okay, so I've told you what I will do.
I accept.
No. I've told you what I will do.
No.
If you want to force your
See, he's saying what he will do now, not what the police will do.
across the border, okay?
No,
That's
sir.
fine.
There is
It has
no border.
consequences.
For us, there's no border.
Okay, that's for you.
You're saying there's
Okay.
border, but you can't show me that it is a border.
Have you ever
Whereas
looked
I
at a
can
map?
show you that it's not a border.
Have a
I
look at
was
the
a
Commonwealth
federal
map.
senator for West.
Okay,
in Australia, and I know.
I'll leave it at that. So I'll come back to me. Now, he's just said go and have a look at a map. So I'm going to have a look at a map right here. So just bear with me. It's because he told me to go and have a look at a map. So let's have a look at a map. Now, he said that here we go. So we're going to certify this. See that? There you go. That there to the right is the quarantine centre. Now, he dealt with us over here in the white to the to the right of your screen, I think it is, or left or whatever. I'm all back to front here. But there's the quarantine centre. You can see the buildings, and then there is the border. Now, they claimed that the border was at the stop sign under the shelter, but that is actually the border sign line. That is not the border. This is still all South Australia. And over here they had these huts, and we were processed here at the hut, which you can see there is well within South Australia. And so the 129 Meridian line, which is the existing colonial border, which fell away under Clause 8, is well and truly up the road to where the police were dealing with it. So at this stage, the prosecution, he was jumping up and down like a first-time horse rider and bouncing around on his seat when we displayed this map, which will get certified. And given the evidence that the WA police have led so far, is they claim that the border is at the stop sign, and as you can see, that is not the case. So the point I want to make out to people is that the issue I want to make out to West Australian people is simply this. We got to get back under the private. We got to get under this. This is what our Anzacs fought for. This is what we used to be. This is our heritage. This is what I'm all about, actually. What we have to establish is what is it costing the West Australian taxpayer, considering all those other people, a lot of them were let go. The police didn't want to prosecute them. I think a couple, maybe 3 or 4, may have consented to $1,000 infringement, which was far better than $50,000 fine and 12 months imprisonment. But hey, me, they got to take me to trial and run it out. And but what I really want to, because it is political, no question. What I want to make very clear is what it's costing the taxpayer when, at the end of the day, the Emergency Management Act of 2005 has not received royal assent. The Parliament can confirm that. The law confirms that, and they've never come out and tried to argue any different with my live streams. Secondly, they dealt with us in the southern side of Australia, or if we were under the Constitution, you could say in the state of South Australia. They weren't in Western Australia, so that's a bit of a bluey for them. When I arrived in the coach on the 3rd of March, Commissioner Dawson, at that time, as he was then in retrospect, once we held them all to account, Commonwealth jurisdiction, air highway, it's not a road, it's a carriageway, it's federally funded, the upkeep, so forth. They revoked the powers to the WA police because I came out with a live and said they were making unsolicited demands on Commonwealth jurisdiction, which air highway is Commonwealth jurisdiction. There is no question about that. So what that then did is they claimed to, in their evidence, to arrest us on the 6th. So they had no power. And only certain police officers were authorised officers granted to come and ask for private medical information, which needs to be kept very confidential between a doctor-patient relationship. I mean, you just don't give out anything to a police worker, a police member, a police officer, a policy enforcer, you know, what level are they at? We don't know. And these people, in actual fact, all the good police officers have left the police force, unfortunately, and we're now dealing with some, you know, very different, individuals. So there you have it. It's costing the West Australian police a lot of money. Western Australian taxpayers' purse a lot of money. Flying in inspectors. I think they're trying to bring in another, another inspector, authorised officer or something, Davis, or so now he had to fly to Kalgoorlie. They thought they'd wind us up within half a day. It's been adjourned to the 19th or 21st of June. All those witnesses then had to fly back at the cost of the taxpayer's purse with flights, accommodation. The prosecutor said he was up there. The arresting sergeant Daniels was getting very upset in his under cross-examination, getting quite curt about, you know, what's his understanding of the law in his position as of an investigating officer. He was getting very uncomfortable. And yet this has just got to drag out and cost a lot of money for everyone. Well, we are going for costs against the WA Police. We have no case to answer. Certainly the material that we have overrides anything of their case. The case should be dismissed, but that's up to them. Hey, we've got to let them lead their evidence, and they've got to believe and come up. But everything to this stage, at this point, they're not looking too good. So, that's it. Now, as I've always said, what's behind me is what we need to do. As Australians, as Australian nationals, we need to get out of the public now. We need to come back under the private, especially for West Australia. We've got an Australia Act of 1986 which usurps the power of the West Australian people. It was done out of dishonour in the Parliament. There is no question about that. I have the evidence. And for Western Australia, we need to come back under our constitutional guarantees and protections and come back, because the Australia Act does not give true representation, democratic representation and process in a bona fide West Australian Parliament. So this is what we need to do before Albanese claims he can call for a republic. You cannot call for a republic, although he'll mislead the people. You can, because he's not under the Constitution. Well, nothing's under the United Kingdom Constitution, so how can you rely on Section 128 to call a referendum? But this will be the bluff that they'll put out to people. So I'm here reporting on the facts. Some people, and thanks for the support of all the people, certainly the people that are becoming members to the party for the purpose of, and helping. And I'm not happy with certain persons or individuals, having a dig and stabbing me in the guts. This takes a lot of courage, a lot of work, and people have to bear with me. And I believe I'm the only politician that's prepared to go in and get his nose punched. And but as I'm doing that, you're understanding of what is going on. So to me, the failing of an officer at an alleged border, he was only told, and not only him, multiple officers were told that that's where the border was, that they had the powers under Emergency Management Act of 2005. They didn't do their due diligence and go and check that the Act actually had passed the democratic process under the Crown, which if they went and had a look, all the law says it doesn't. And, and magistrates and judges go, well, we just get told what the Parliament tells us to do and we just do our job. All Australians are listening to, not all, there are a lot kicking back. I'm certainly one of them, because we don't have a bona fide Parliament in Australia, and the people have to act, and we're going to the next stage. We all need to gather support and come back to the private, and come back to what our forefathers granted to us, and certainly what our Anzacs fought for in the background there. And I sit as a proud Australian in front of that flag and would never allow it to turn to blue as long as I'm here with the knowledge I have now. So thank you. Thanks for looking. Got just under 500 people. Need a lot more. Spread the word. Come on, let's get in the private. I'll be putting it up step by step. I need your support. Your country needs you, and now's the time. So let's go get them. Thank you. God bless and have a safe and wonderful weekend. Bye for now.
Every day!